Chapter 3. Page 18. In the spring of 1921, Robert began to make greater progress in his studies, which greatly encouraged his chum Walter Kenilworth. Robert would study and read early and late. Walter would often call on him in his room and find him there deeply engrossed reading the Bible and puzzling over the interpretation of the meaning of many parts of the Scriptures. One Sunday in the early part of June, Robert and Walter went to church and the minister took for his text 1 Corinthians 13:2, "And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing." Then the minister read from the 7th verse, "Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things," and again from the 11th verse, "When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." The minister further read from the 13th verse, "And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love." Again he read from 2 Corinthians 5:7, "For we walk by faith, not by sight," and concluded the reading of the text from Galatians 5:14, "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." The minister preached a great sermon. Robert thought it one of the best he had ever heard and one which impressed him the most. The minister talked about the great work of faith and said that faith without works is dead, but that there could be no faith without love because love was the greatest of all things. That God was love, and that love was the fulfilling of the law, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son that whomsoever believeth on him might not perish, but have everlasting life." He added that God loves children who honor and obey their parents, wives who love and obey their husbands, husbands who love and protect their wives, and admonished each man to love his neighbor as himself. Because love is the law of harmony, and the power that created the universe, it is the only power that can prevent destruction, war and human death, but with true love we can overcome the last great enemy, death. When men love each other as God loves them, there will be no longer any strife or contention. Man will no longer covet what belongs to his neighbor. True love will deal justly and do unto others as we wish to have them do unto us. He preached about the ambitions, the love of country and patriotism which inspires men to go to battle and give their lives for the protection of their home and country. He said, "Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend, and that a great reward was sure to come to those who love and obey God." He talked of God's great command, "If you love me, keep my commandments." This sermon stirred Robert's ambition as nothing else had ever done before. It made him realize the love that he owed to his mother, whose great faith and love had helped to lay the foundation for his future career. He thought about what the preacher said, that a man deserts father and mother to cleave unto his wife, and that this was as it should be. He had always felt his greatest love for his mother, but now for the first time in his life he began to think of love for another woman. His mind turned toward the many beautiful girls that he used to meet in Sunday school and those who were in his class. Robert's chum, Walter, had already had a puppy love affair in school with a girl by the name of Caroline Oglethorpe. Robert had laughed at Walter about this and thought it was all foolishness. But now he began to think that maybe there was something more to love than what he had heretofore believed it to be. Walter Kenilworth's family being one of the most wealthy and prominent in Texarkana, they were at all the social functions, at which Robert met all the younger set in the city. A few weeks after the minister had preached this sermon on charity and love, Robert was in church one morning, and after Sunday school, was talking with Caroline Oglethorpe, and with her was her chum, Marie Stanton. Walter introduced Robert to Marie. Marie was the daughter of a wealthy and prominent family. Her father, Colonel Stanton, had made a fortune in building railroads. He was now a big lumberman, and one of the most prominent in Texarkana. Marie was a beautiful young girl of about 13 years of age when Robert met her. She was of the true brunette type, with glossy black hair and dark eyes that sparkled like diamonds. About this time, Robert began to read novels and love stories and became very much interested in them, always taking strong sides with the hero and becoming very much agitated and aroused against the villain. He saw Marie frequently after this, as she attended the same school as Robert and Walter. Every time that Robert saw Marie, she looked more beautiful to him. Robert soon began to lose sleep thinking about Marie, and realized that love was the greatest thing in the world. He confided his secret to his friend, Walter. Being very bashful, he had never said anything about his love to Marie. Finally, he made up his mind one night that he would write her about it, so this is what he wrote. Wednesday Eve. Dear Marie, you probably remember several weeks ago, when I was introduced to you in church, the sermon that the minister preached in his text from St. Paul where he said, "The greatest thing in the world is love." I agree with St. Paul. That is why I am writing to you. I liked you the first time I met you, and every time I have seen you since, I have liked you more. Now that I know I love you so much, I feel that I must tell you. I hope that you are going to love me someday. Your friend, Robert. Marie replied to the letter as follows. Dear Robert, I received your nice note. This is the first time that anyone has ever written to me about love and I am all excited over it. I never thought that you liked me, Bobby. I always thought that you were making eyes at Kitty Anderson in school. I do like you and think that you are a nice boy. Yours, Marie. When Robert read the last line, he felt his heart jump right up in his throat. His hopes and ambitions soared higher than they had ever before. He began to dream of the future with Marie as his wife. He talked of his plans to Walter, and his hope of being a great inventor someday and making a lot of money so that he could marry a wealthy girl like Marie. The following Sunday, he went home to the country to see his mother, and told her the story of the new love affair. Bobby, said his mother, you are little over 15 years old, and this is only puppy love, or what they call schoolboy and schoolgirl love. It will soon pass away, but there is no harm in it. Love is a great thing and someday you will meet the right girl, but there is no use being in any hurry about it. Bobby told his mother that Marie was the only girl in the world for him, and that he would live and work for her. That if he couldn't marry Marie he never wanted any other girl. His mother laughed at this and told him that they all thought that way over the first love affair, but that after a while, as the years went by and he met the real one, this would all pass away. However, she did tell Bobby that she had never forgotten her first love, as there is something different about the first love, even though it doesn't last. Stick to your studies, said she, and do not let your love for Marie interfere with your progress. She saw that this love was a great stimulator for Robert and that his ambitions were greater than ever. He told his mother that he was going to Sunday school every Sunday and that he was studying hard, reading the Bible and learning a lot, and that he was preparing to be a great man. His mother said, Bobby, I've always had great faith in you, and I know that one day my dream will come true, and you will do something that will make me very proud of you. In June, 1921, Robert Gordon and Walter Kenilworth were in the graduating class. Although Walter was 1 year younger than Robert, his early advantages enabled him to graduate at 14, while Robert was graduating at the age of 15, and would not have been able to pass all of his examinations except for the help and assistance rendered him by Walter. Marie Stanton, who was then 13 years of age, graduated the following year. After Robert graduated, he at first decided to secure a position and go to work, but after consulting with Walter, he decided that it would be best to enter high school and get through as soon as possible. So in the fall of 1921, he and Walter began high school. Here is where his greatest work began to show forth. He took a great interest in physics and higher mathematics, studied day and night, making very high marks in these studies. Also took an interest in chemistry, which Walter was specializing in, because he knew that it would be useful to him with his invention, which he was still talking so much about, and his plans. The time passed by quickly and in 1924 Robert Gordon and Walter Kenilworth graduated from high school in Texarkana with high honors. In the meantime, the love affair between Robert and Marie had continued with the usual interruptions, obstacles and petty quarrels existing between young people of their age. In the fall of 1924, it was finally decided that Walter should go to Columbia College in New York to begin his course. Robert's parents were unable to finance him through college, and it was decided that he should go to work for Mr. Kenilworth in his office. Robert hated to part with his old friend, Walter, but they thought it was for the best and talked of the future in New York, hoping that one day Robert could join Walter there. In the following year, 1925, Marie Stanton graduated from high school with the highest of honors. Robert was at the graduation exercises and thought that Marie had grown more beautiful every year, and was anxious for the day to come when he could claim her for his wife. Soon after her graduation from high school, there was much talk about the college Marie should enter. Her father and mother finally decided that she should go to the Kid Key College at Sherman, Texas, as this was nearby and Marie could go home occasionally. As the time neared for Marie to go away, Robert became more anxious. He thought Marie would fall in love with someone else. He talked with her about the future, and for the first time, spoke of marriage. He talked to her of the difference in their station in life, and said that his mother thought that a marriage between a wealthy girl and boy of poor circumstances could never result in harmony and happiness. He told Marie the story that the old darky had related on the fishing trip, about the love affair between the poor country boy and the wealthy planter's daughter, and their tragic death. Marie thought her father would never consent to their marriage, but she said she really loved Robert and when the time came, she would elope with him if necessary. This greatly cheered Robert and made it easier for him after Marie went away to college. Love letters passed between them during the first year she was at college, and all went well. Robert worked hard in his new position in Mr. Kenilworth's office. He was a willing worker, an expert stenographer and secretary. Robert continued to show expert mechanical ability and could fix anything that was wrong with an automobile. Walter corresponded often with Robert and also wrote to his father asking how Robert was getting along. Mr. Kenilworth replied that Robert was making great progress, that he was a very brilliant boy and he was going to help him all he could for he thought Robert had a great future. 1926 was to be one of the most eventful years in the life of Robert Gordon. In the spring his father died suddenly, and after a consultation with his mother, it was decided that he should leave his position, return to the farm and help them to get things straightened out. He encountered the usual obstacles and opposition from his brother, because he knew nothing about farming and of course did not like it. The result was that he put all of his savings into helping to make the crop. While it turned out to be a good crop, the low prices of cotton in the fall of 1926 left them in debt. While on the farm, he contracted malaria fever and a severe spell of illness followed, during which time he received many consoling letters from Marie. Soon after he was able to return to his position with Mr. Kenilworth, he met with another severe automobile accident, this time breaking his right arm. This necessitated 6 weeks in the hospital before he was able to return to work again. One disappointment followed another, but Robert had learned to practice patience. He read the Bible, especially the story of Job, continued to go to church, and while he was suffering many trials and tribulations, his mind was expanding. He could not accept the theory preached and taught by preachers, because he knew that the things they taught were wrong. Marie returned home for her vacation. She was now 18 years old, and had grown more beautiful and began to attract more attention from young men. As the Kenilworths and Stantons had been friends for years, Walter suggested to his parents that they give a party in honor of Marie Stanton. A young man by the name of Edward Mason, the son of a very wealthy northern family, was there, and showed marked attention to Marie. Robert became very jealous and after the party had a quarrel with her. Then followed long weeks of agony. Many letters passed between Robert and Marie. When the end of August drew near and Robert knew that Marie was to return to school soon, he was anxious to make up before she went away and wrote the following letter. Dearest Marie, I am very sad. I feel the reason you refuse to make up with me is because you are in love with Edward Mason. I have never loved anyone but you and never will. If we are not reconciled before you go back to school, I fear we never will be. I am sending you 2 poems, Parting and Yesterday, which express how I feel. Sorrowfully, Robert. Parting. Kiss me. The spell is broken, the dream we dreamed is gone. Nothing remains but memory, memory, and dawn. Kiss me. And then your hand, dear, do you not feel the beat, the rhythm of our pulses? It does not spell defeat. It spells the song that life sings, the message of the heart, pathways meet but to widen, and lips meet but to part. Yesterday. Dreams, just dreams of yesterday, when love to me was sweet, romance has now gone astray, no other love will I greet. It was short, my little romance, short, but God, how good. Went along as smooth as a dance, part us? It seemed no one could. But someone did, though I forgive, he loved her as did I, for her only, did I live, and now, for her I die. When Marie received the letter, she replied, Dear Robert, your letter and poems received. You are again accusing me wrongfully. You are all in the wrong, and until you can see your mistake, I will never think of making up. Sincerely, Marie. In September 1926, Marie returned to school at Sherman, Texas, leaving Robert very much broken-hearted because she refused to make up. She told Robert his jealousy was wholly unfounded, but he persisted in accusing her of being in love with Edward Mason. Feeling this way, she was unable to reconcile herself and make up, so she went away, disappointed herself and leaving Robert in the same fix. Following her return to school, Robert spent many long weeks of anxiety, becoming very blue and dejected. Many letters passed between them. He wrote much poetry to Marie, all without avail. Finally, he wrote a letter and told her that it would be the last. That he knew she was in love with Edward Mason, and that there was no use going on. Dear Marie, this is to be my farewell letter to you, for I have given up hope. Ever since I first met you, you have been my ideal and my one inspiration. I have lived for you, worked for you, thought of nothing else but you. Your love has given me great encouragement to go on, and now I realize that I have lost you and that your love has been given to another. I shall always love you and hope that you will someday change your mind, and your heart turn to me. Sorrowfully, your own. Robert. With this letter he sent the poems Loved and Lost and Goodbye. Dedicated to Marie. Loved and Lost. It isn't failure to have lost a girl of whom you have nobly thought, if buffeted and tempest-tossed, you fail to win the girl you sought. It isn't failure, though the prize in another's hand is placed. A hero very often dies, if dying keeps him undisgraced. To bow unto a better man is not the worst thing I could do. Success is not in the things we scan, but in the heart forever true. It takes more courage for to fail than win a girl undeserved. To bear the taunts of those who rail, than from your purpose to be swerved. When a girl frowns darkly, and hope is on the wane, be constant, true and patient, defeat will blossom into gain. If your aim is high and honest, in victory it will tell, for before the pearl is gotten, there must be a broken shell. Robert. To Marie. Goodbye. And now I fly to bear my wound away, haply the future heals me of this hurt, since, sorely wounded, I still keep today, mine honor as an armor around me girt. But these last words, fair lady, bear in mind, ere for your sport another heart you break, forbear the triumph dear to womankind, and spare your victim, even for my sake. When Robert had finished this letter, he wrote to his old chum, Walter Kenilworth, in New York, that he had written a farewell letter to Marie and that it was all over. Walter replied, Dear Robert, I have received your letter filled with gloom. Now, cheer up, old pal, the sun will shine again and Marie or some other girl just as good will smile on you. You are too young to let a girl wreck you. Stick to business and keep up your studies. I enclose a poem which I think about fits your case, and it will probably work out about that way. With all good wishes, your friend, Walter. A broken vow. It was a broken-hearted boy who vowed a solemn vow, I will not write a letter to that pretty little editoress anyhow. I will not do that fearsome thing, I will not pen a jest, about the beautiful hostess who mocks the staying guest. He made a postscript to his vow, he made a codicil, he was serious as though he formed his will, and then he sat down and smiled with all his might, about all the love letters he did not have to write. But in a day or two he felt exceedingly queer and strange, a restless something filled his mind, he longed for a change. He asked the doctor what was wrong, the doctor gave a pill, and made a memorandum to add 20 to his bill. Then the pictures of all the girls he knew came flocking to his brain. Marie's lovely angel face marched sternly in the train, and each of them and all of them compelled him to think, just as a man thinks when he quits smoke or drink. At last a little disappointing note came, then he said, just one more farewell love note I'll write, it shall not be serious, something fancy and light. He wrote a love letter, just as a man who says he has sworn off takes rock and rye or some such thing to stop a cough. But why pursue this sorry tale, why tell of what he did? 'Twas like the one more smoke or drink, that throws away the lid. He wrote of the things she'd wrote and said, of memories of sweet caresses that haunted the heart and head. He wrote of how much better she was than the other girl of the South, of her beautiful eyes and ruby mouth. He wrote of love for her, and how well she had served cocoa and consommé. He wrote of love lost and debauched, until the break of day. And when they came and found him ill, and sought to nurse him through, they said, here, taste this chicken soup she made, it will be good for you. Robert became very despondent. He no longer took an interest in his work. Mr. Kenilworth finally wrote to Walter in New York, telling him of Robert's lack of interest in business, and that he wondered what had brought such a change in him. Walter, of course, had received letters from Robert about his break with Marie, so he wrote his father frankly and told him to have patience with Robert, that when this love affair passed away, he was sure he would be all right again. Upon receiving Robert's letter, Marie wrote, My dear Robert, this is to be my farewell letter to you. I quote from Solomon 2:5, Stay me with flagons, comfort me with apples, for I am sick of love. Robert, I would rather have green apples and a stomach ache, like Solomon says, for I am sick of what you call love. I want you to read St. Paul again, and see if the way you are acting is the way love acts. Paul says that love suffereth long, and is kind, love envieth not, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Robert, if love is founded on faith and trust, it cannot be jealous. Love is the foundation of understanding, and if you understood me and if I thoroughly understood you, we would be in love yet, and be happy. Love seeketh not its own to please, nor for itself hath any care, but for another gives its ease, and builds a heaven in hell's despair. So long as you persist in jealousy and accuse me falsely, how can I go on loving? Because you are not the old Robert who first loved me and taught me to love all of these years, and was never jealous before. Love that has been founded on years of confidence cannot change in a moment for another, and my love has not changed to Edward Mason, as you think. I still love you, but you have been wrong in your accusations. I am sending you a little article, love, and hope that you may someday see how wrong you have been, and when you do, if you feel that way, write and tell me so. Regretfully, Marie. Love. The spark of love gives more light than the universe of truth. Yet truth is in love, and in order to act the truth, you must make love the truth, for remember that the handshake of friendship, or the kiss and love of an innocent child, will do more to lift a soul to the light than the strongest and wisest argument even when rightly understood. Beyond the boundaries of love no thought ever passed, for love is everywhere. Love is a prophecy of freedom, and its song of melody is heard in the rhythmic motion of the ocean. Each fowl of the air, each fish of the sea, and every living thing that moveth upon the earth is the manifestation of love, for in their subsistence love has said, As I create so I provide. Thus in every conceivable thing with form or without, with harmony or with discord, their love is manifested. Love is the life of every plant, of every sunset, of every soul. It is the inspiration in the happy mind, and the voice that speaks to us in the time of temptation. Love is the foundation of all understanding, it transcends all reasoning, for it is the fulfillment of the greatest. Love gives faith to all things, for love believeth in its own. Love symbolizes the everlasting, for it is the spirit of the beginning, and its wonderful radiance of color decks each sunrise and sunset. Love is the breeze that blows away the clouds of doubt, making the landscape of the soul radiant with joy and gladness. Each heart keeps time in unison to the rhythmic harmonies of love, for each is love in all. Love has thrown into the shapeless void the breath that has given life to worlds, and this vital spark, or the life of man, illuminates the picture that love has painted.